Livingston Parish Public Schools will now come to order. Ms. Taylor, call the roll.
Mr. Sharp?
Here.
Ms. Dickerson?
Here.
Ms. Benton?
Here.
Mr. Brad Harris?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Piku?
Here.
Dr. Gregoire?
Here.
Mr. Cecil Harris?
Here. Okay, we have one public comment.
What agenda item is that, sir?
It's not listed.
It's not, it's insurance, and I'm not quite sure what that applies to. Number 9? Okay. There you go.
Okay, number 2, approval of minutes of school board meeting held on September 15th, 2022. I have a motion and a second. Ms. Benton makes the motion, and Mr. Cox seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There is none, so it's approved. I need to make an announcement here. The agenda item number 4, the resolution providing guidelines for the appointment of persons to serve on the Livingston Parish School Board Education Facility Improvement District and providing for other matters in connection therewithin had the incorrect adoption date of October 6, 2022, should have been moved to September 5th, 2022, and this change has been made. All right, number 3, approval of minutes of the school board meeting held on September 26, 2022. Motion and a second. Mr. Cox makes a motion, and Mr. Bradley Harris seconds it.
There is an issue with item number 5. I don't see the correct one in my, it hadn't been updated in Sibley yet, but it says no action was taken on renewal quotes for cyber insurance expiring October 1st, 2022, or cyber insurance expires October 31st, 2022. Otherwise, it'd be expired now.
We can make that change to 31st.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There's none, so it passes. Number 4, discussion action on resolution appointing persons to serve on the Board of Directors for the Educational Facilities Improvement District. At this time, I'd like for each board member, each district to make their recommendations.
Board members, we do have Mr. Andrews here tonight from Foley and Jadell to ask any, if there's any questions that needed to be asked in this.
Okay, district number 1.
Mr.
Brian
Sharp.
McCaskill.
You got that? All right, district number 2.
Scott Jones.
Number 3.
Kayla Johnson.
Number 4.
Randy Smith.
District number 5 is Lawson Covington. District 6.
John Blunt.
District 7.
Tab Lobel.
District number 8.
Thomas Bryson.
And District 9.
Cody Harding.
All right, thank y'all very much. Now we need a motion and a second to accept this resolution.
I so move we accept this resolution.
All right, Mr. Graham makes the motion and Mr. Cox seconds it. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no?
Mr. Andrews, does Foley and Janelle need any more information regarding this agenda item at this time?
No, sir, that's perfect. That's what we needed. And the board, the district rather, will actually meet on the 24th, I believe, at 5 p.m. So that will be the first official meeting.
That would be the EFID Directors Board.
Correct.
And it would meet on the 24th at 5 p.m. And I believe I emailed each board member who I had recommendations from that would be the meeting date for that. And I believe all the ones that responded agreed that the 24th at 5 p.m. would be correct.
I have a question. If the tax doesn't pass, what happens to the Board of Directors?
It's still there. It's still in existence, but it just would not be levying a tax. You have to have approval of the voters and the people to be able to levy any kind of tax.
And the wording that goes to the people has to say for pay raises for our staff?
It will be the board of directors will give them a few propositions, and the wording, some of it you can play with. Most of it's pretty standard for the Secretary of State. But yes, that most likely will be something that's in the proposition.
Because the same thing that was passed in EBR, I think in 18, it was only like 41% went to pay raises. Everything else was facilities. So it's up to
The
the
conversations
board.
we've had, I don't anticipate putting set percentages in there. That can be something I think that'll be in the bylaws. So that is something that we can deal with, certainly.
More discussion? Questions? All in favor?
One more question. It is going to be a public event, and so it's going to
Yeah,
be
they did.
promoted just like a regular public event, open agenda.
That's
same kind of
correct.
meeting. So the
It's-
public is welcome to attend to this.
Correct.
meeting.
It's same laws that the school board deals with regard to public meetings, so it'll be the exact same.
Kenny, you got it all?
Thank you, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you all.
Okay, number 5, consider and approve a resolution for the naming of the courtyard at the Southside Junior High School. Ms. Benton.
Thank you. I'm going to read the resolution at this time. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope has spent the last 58 years of his life as an advocate, promoter, believer, and champion of public education in this parish, this state, and this country, providing a foundation of hope and excellence to generations of students in Livingston Parish, the state of Louisiana, and beyond. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope obtained bachelor's and master's degrees in education from Southeastern Louisiana University and began his education-centered career in 1964 as a teacher at Walker Elementary School. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope also served as a teacher at Walker Junior High School and a teacher and coach at Walker High School, leading the girls' high school basketball team to LHSAA state championships in 1967, 68, and 1972. In addition to those 3 state championships in girls basketball, he also coached boys basketball, football, track, and baseball. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope moved into school administration beginning in 1976 with stints as principal at Walker Upper Elementary, Walker Junior High, and Walker High School. In 1979, he was the first principal at the newly opened Southside Junior High School. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope was promoted to assistant superintendent in 1985 and to superintendent of schools in 1987, serving as the Livingston Parish School System Superintendent until 2001, a time of tremendous growth and excellence for one of the finest school systems in the state of Louisiana. In 2000, Mr. J. Rogers Pope was selected as the Louisiana Superintendent of the Year, and in 2001 was elected president of the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope continued his support of elementary and secondary education and its administrators by becoming the executive director of the Louisiana Association of School Executives in 2002, a position which he holds to this day. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope was elected and continued to serve our community as a Louisiana state representative from 2007 to 2019 and a Louisiana state senator from 2020 to present day. He has a record of protecting and promoting public education in Louisiana, and he has worked tirelessly to preserve the Livingston Parish way of life. His recognition as the Louisiana Family Forum's Family Advocate Award in 2009, 2010, and 2012, the Legislature of the Year Award by the State Troopers Association in 2010, and the Legislature of the Year Award by the Child Care Association of Louisiana in 2011, the Louisiana Federation of Teachers LFT Award in 2012, and the Louisiana School Board Association's Legislature of the Year Award in 2013 are just a few of his accomplishments. Whereas Mr. J. Rogers Pope was honored in 2016 as Southeastern Louisiana University's College of Education Alumni of the Year, was a 2016 inductee of the Louisiana ASA USA Softball Hall of Fame, was a 2017 inductee of the Denham Springs High School Hall of Fame, and was a 2020 inductee of the Walker High School Hall of Fame. Whereas the Livingston Parish School Board wishes to establish an enduring reminder, and to celebrate the accomplishments and continued contributions of Mr. J. Rogers Pope to the Livingston Parish school system, the Livingston Parish community, the state of Louisiana, and to past and present school-age children everywhere. Therefore, the Livingston Parish School Board does hereby honor and commemorate the record of achievement, the countless accomplishments, and the lifetime contributions of Mr. J. Rogers Pope by naming the courtyard of the newly constructed Southside Junior High School the J. Rogers Pope Courtyard to bear his name in perpetuity. Thank you, Mr. Pope.
Have a motion to accept this resolution in a second.
Make a motion.
Dr. Gregoire makes a motion, and Mr. Graham seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, yes? Yes. All opposed, no. There is none, so it's approved.
Mr. Pope.
You never pass up a chance to say something, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My former neighbor would not forgive me forever, right?
Right.
Look, I don't know really where to start, to be honest with you. Thought about this for the last day or so when I found out this was going to happen, when Superintendent Murphy called me, and I said, well, you know, I may have to say a few words. I don't like to talk. Most of you know that. But when I start, nobody knows when to shut me up. So y'all may be in trouble. I will say this, though. Reading this is really something that you just reflect on when you hear it. You don't know all these things are taking place when you do it. School system has been nothing more than just absolutely great to me and my family, which I'm going to introduce at this time, if you'll give me the privilege of some of them being here. These are my favorite supporters, by the way. I want you to know. This is my son, Kevin, who was in the school system till he got smart and got out, or gets his dad's best wishes. His wife, Candy, my favorite daughter-in-law. My favorite middle granddaughter, Carson, and her special friend, Travis Bencath. But most of all, my best friend, my good soulmate, my best supporter is my wife, Pat. And she's been with me forever. I've been knowing her since I was 5. We've been married a long time. So I'm glad to have them here. I appreciate them taking their time. I appreciate the board for taking this. This is really a humbling experience for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. As Jan had read, or Ms. Benton has read, I'm sorry, Jan, has read, I've had an opportunity to go a lot of places, do a lot of things. When you get old, you get to do a lot of things, and I've done that. But I've never enjoyed anything as much as being in the school system, and I mean that sincerely. But I've never been more humbled than I am to accept any of the awards that I've had, which I've been fortunate, I've had several, than I am tonight. This is one that you go through this business for all these years, and all of you that have been there and done this know that you don't do it for recognition. If you did that, you wouldn't be in the business, because you wouldn't stay long, you wouldn't last long. But it is nice to be recognized, it is nice to be humble, and I am humbled. I don't know, I can tell you that I don't think I'm deserving of this honor by any means, because I spent 6 years at that school at Southside. We started it, and I wish Mike Harris was here, because he'll tell you some of the stories that I can't tell publicly. We wouldn't relay them anyway. But we started, and we established a foundation. And those of you that don't know it, if you look back at the history of that school, which is now 43 years old, You've had 5 superintendents to come through that school, that lead the school system, that worked in that school. You've had assistant superintendents that come through that school that worked in this system. You've had multiple principals to come through that school and work through that system. And I think it all started with the foundation, because we were no better than the people that were employed and worked at that school. They bought into what we were trying to sell. They carried it out, and I'm going to tell you, we had good community support, but we had great employees. And that's what keeps the system going. I tell you, from my standpoint, I wouldn't trade it for the world. To compliment you on what you have done the last few years, I don't know how you've done it. I'm going to be honest with you. I've sit back and I've watched, I've looked. You went through the most devastating flood that we've ever had. Hope we never have another one, but y'all handled that with grace, with goodwill, with good finances, and the school system came out a whole lot better. I can tell you, we're a lot better off for it. And there's all good comes out of everything, and this is some good things that come out of this flood. But y'all handled that extremely well, and I want to publicly compliment you on the way you've done that. The way that you've gone through and handled COVID, I don't know if another school system could have done it better, because y'all tried to have school for our kids where they needed to be. Not at home, not doing virtual learning, but in the classroom, face-to-face with a real live body that could do some good. Not just in teaching that ours, reading, writing, math, et cetera, but also giving them the love, the courage, the foundations that they really need that sometimes they don't get at home, but they were getting it at school. And our people have done that. Y'all have led the leadership for that, and I applaud you for doing that. I know y'all got a long agenda, won't take any more. I will tell you that this is something that goes down in my book as probably the best thing that has happened to me in reference to recognition. And I thank you for it. I appreciate it, and it will all be remembered. Now, on top of that, I still got another year and a half to go in a job. After that, I'll be looking for one, so I may want to come drive a bus. Thank y'all for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I would like to say something. I just want to say that I've worked with Mr. Pope a long time. I started in this parish in the late 70s as a teacher and in different capacities as a principal and a supervisor. And I've worked with him alongside him. And even after he left our system and moved into the legislature, I worked with him in the LACE organization for school executives, school leaders. And I just thoroughly enjoyed all my years working with you, Mr. Pope. You've just been a class act, and you've done so much for Livingston Parish Schools, so much. And I just so much appreciate it, and I appreciate you and your family. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to say I do know another side of him that a lot of people don't know. Not from an educational standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, but played many years of fast pitch softball, and I've never played with anybody more competitive than this guy. And he doesn't like to lose, and that's why he's where he's at today. Thanks, Roger.
And I'll add, basically, I don't know of any other stauncher advocate for the school system and the kids and all that than you have been, not only in the schools but also in the legislature. So we highly appreciate that.
I'd like to just add, I was fortunate enough to have him teach me in high school and to play for him on the baseball team. So I owe a lot to him, actually, for a mentor. Actually, I consider him a mentor and appreciate everything you've done over the years for everybody.
I ain't telling your age.
I'm telling his age.
Any more comment?
Yeah, well, I've been on the board a while, but I didn't get a chance to work with him. But I've heard a lot of stuff about him, and I know the way he left the school system when he left. And I just appreciate him for that, and also what he's done for this state, for sure.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed interviewing you whenever I worked at Channel 9. You always kept that open door, and I appreciated it. So,
Any more?
When I was a young kid, my father worked construction, and I traveled around all over the place, and I went school to school to school to school. And we came back into Louisiana when I was in the 8th grade. And I actually went to Southside Junior High while he was there. And I can remember my first day there, I was trying to find my bus. And I was walking down that front sidewalk, and he was standing by one of those poles, and it was just this big, huge, tall man, because I was a little 8th grader, and this big, tall man was standing there, and he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm going to take care of you, son." And that's one of my favorite memories from school, but one of my only memories from that time period in of that age was him putting his hand on my shoulder and helping me find the bus. That was the first time I ever met Mr. Pope.
I have one memory, well, more than one, but the one that sticks out in my mind about Mr. Pope, I was a youngster, and I remember watching him play basketball. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with his son Kevin just a few weeks ago. What I remembered about watching you play basketball, I thought you was the meanest rascal I ever saw. I mean, he would just clear them out. And I'll always remember watching you play.
I know we need to move on, but I got one story I got to tell.
Uh-oh.
We played fast pitch softball, and we traveled all over the country, and so we had played in Memphis, and it was about, I don't know, 8 or 10 of us in a motorhome. And we stopped, and it must have been 1 o'clock in the morning. We stopped in some place between here and Memphis. I don't know where it was, but it was way out in the boonies to go to the bathroom and get a drink. And Randy Pope was driving the van, motorhome. And so we all get out, we go to the bathroom, you get a cold drink, whatever. So I would jump back in the motorhome. We take off going. We're down the road about 5 or 6 miles, and some guy in a truck pulls up beside us with somebody standing in the back. "Hey, y'all stop it, let me in." He got in the back of a truck with some guys. He didn't even know who he was. We had left him at the filling station. Anyway, I tell that story. We need to move on. Thanks again. We got one more, Mr. Murphy.
You know, I don't usually have trouble talking, but I do tonight. It's a simple comment. I cannot express the admiration and respect I have for you, sir. You have served your parish and your state admirably over the years. Thank you, Mr. Pope.
Thanks again. All right, let's move on. Number 6, discussion and action on entering into a CEA with LPSO for school crossing guards. Ms. Gill's not here.
I'll take it.
You're going to take that?
Board members, you have before you the completed cooperative endeavor agreement for school crossing guards. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have on that. I would like to personally thank the Sheriff's Office and his staff for working so diligently to get this done. It has provided some of our employees with an opportunity from employment that they would not have personally had before. So I would respectfully ask that you sign off on this cooperative endeavor agreement with the Sheriff's Office to provide school crossing guards. Thank you.
I need a motion and a second. Mr. Cox makes a motion and Mr. Sharp seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sheriff Hard's paying for everything for the crossing guards?
Yes, he's, if you look at the notes that I sent, you can see that he is paying, training, equipping the crossing guards, and to help clear up some of the insurance issues, which I know was several exchanges between his lawyer and Mr. Boyer. He also picked up the insurance that would cover these people, not only their personal insurance, but for liability insurance, but also their workman's comp. Yes.
And didn't I read that a lot of our custodians are benefiting from this?
I don't have the exact number, but yes, ma'am. I know there's custodians that are benefiting
Several.
from this. But I think we have probably 10 employees for taking advantage of this.
Any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There is none, so it passes. Number 7, discussion action for change order number 1 for the renovation of industrial arts buildings at Holden School. Mr. Zoller.
Mr. Harris, Mr. Murphy, members of the board, I'm here this evening to ask you to approve change order number 1 to the renovations to the industrial arts building at Holden School. McLean Construction is the contractor. The total change order would be in the amount of $18,647. That would be a deduct or a credit back to the school, which would reduce the total project cost to date to $1,563,353. So I'd ask that you approve this change order.
Motion and second. Mr. Sharp makes a motion. Mr. Graham second. Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There is none, so it passes.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
That's the kind of change orders we like.
Yeah. Okay, number 8, discussion action on change order number 3 for Denham Springs High School baseball and athletic improvements. Mr. Steffiata.
Good evening. Tonight, we're formally requesting approval of change order number 3 for the baseball or softball baseball complex at Denham Springs High School. Change order number 3 consists of 9 separate change order requests, all lumped into one. 3 of the 9 components revolve around asking for additional days due to weather delays and of the such. And then there are another 6 change order requests for modifications to the plans and work, scope of work. The contract amount by change order number 3 will be increased $169,724, and the contract time will be increased by 118 days. That said, the contractor has notified us today that he expects to have a punch list, be ready for a punch on October 17th, and we should be occupying that facility soon. So that said, we're asking for approval of change order number 3.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Ms. Benton makes a motion and Mr. Bradley Harris seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Can I ask you a question?
All opposed, no. There is none, so it passes.
You had a question first.
I had a question real quick. So the increase of the 118 days, that was like to backfill from when they were supposed to finish to begin with? Is that what that?
Basically, the 118 days dealt with a request for 37 days at the initial onset of the contract. If you recall, the contract got kicked off right when Ida hit. And so there was stress throughout the system, and so the contract was delayed getting signed, and he's requested those additional days. And then, of course, there was rain days in July and August, which we're all aware of, and so that's kind of how it got boosted to 118 days.
Okay, it says the new completion date is 4 days from now?
17th is when he says he'll be ready for a punch.
Was there a penalty for that number of days, and what did that constitute?
It's not a penalty when you extend the days in the contract.
What I'm saying is
decreases the potential
missing the
penalty,
completion
correct.
date. Was there a penalty?
There is one outstanding, correct. It's still in effect. The contract came with $1,000 a day liquidated damages.
Okay, so in essence, this is $118,000 forgiveness and a $47,000 forgiveness.
Well,
Granted that those they were validated.
They're validated by contract.
Days, but okay.
More? All right, number 9, thank you. 9, the public comment's been pulled.
That's correct.
Just confirming your public comment's been pulled.
Yes.
Okay. All right, discussion and action on the approval of the third-party administrator for the cafeteria plan for employees, Mr. Chapin.
Yes, sir. Earlier this year, we put together a committee, as we do every 2 years, to review third-party administrators, and to clarify, this is not for health insurance. This is strictly for the supplemental policies such as dental, health, vision, those types of things. And we open that up for an opportunity for outside agencies to come in and make presentations. This year we had 5 presentations. After those presentations, the committee met. We used a rubric. Each rubric was graded by each person on the committee. We tallied those, and First Financial will continue to be our third-party administrator as voted on by the entire committee. First Financial has been an outstanding partner in our school system. The debate is how long. It's as long as I can remember, First Financial has assisted our employees, and they will continue to do so for the next 2 years, ending on December the 31st, 2024.
Mr. Chapin, were there other agencies that offered lower policies, lower
Well,
premiums?
we really didn't, it's kind of difficult to get into what they provide as far as cost is concerned, because we're not allowed to share a lot of information because of HIPAA rules. They present their products, and based on those presentations and what they can do with those products is what the committee bases their information on. Because there are no outside, the school board is not charged any fees by any of these organizations. All of the rates are charged to the employees on the products that these companies offer. And there's really not a lot of difference in those rates. It's basically what the companies can provide in services.
And are the premiums going up next year for 23?
I don't know the premiums on this. Health insurance, yes. Health insurance is going up 4%, I believe it is. And that's through Office of Group Benefits.
Legislature.
Because I made some calls and talked to some folks in Iberville Parish, and they have Blue Cross insurance as well.
Yes.
They've had the same provider, and their premiums haven't gone up. They're the highest, some of the highest paid salaries, teachers in the state, but their premiums haven't gone up in over 10 years. They're the lowest paid insurance.
Iberville is self-insured.
Okay.
Which
With
means
1,200 employees, and we've got almost 4,000. I've gotten tons of calls on that. Like, why?
Sure, we have as well. They are self-insured, and so it is a process to go through that. Mr. Murphy and I have talked about that, but it is something to look at in the future, but it is not as easy as just saying we're going to be self-insured. It is the board would have to be involved in that, and it is a very expensive endeavor at the beginning of that process. But, Mr. Murphy, did you want to comment on that at all?
Well, we have had a couple conversations about self-insurance. There's a lot of pros to it. Would it provide our employees with cheaper health insurance? Yes, it would. But it also placed the board under a pretty significant financial transference into that process. Would it in long term probably be something that would be beneficial? Yes, I agree. But there's also some other cons related to it where some of our former employees would not be able to obtain that self-insurance, and they would have to retain the insurance that we have now.
Retirees wouldn't
The
be able to.
retirees, that is correct. And I will tell you, we would love to explore that possibility, and we are. We've already started some discussions about it, but it is a very complex process, and
Isn't it also a staffing issue?
I'm sorry, sir?
Isn't it also a staffing issue?
Yes.
Whereas we would have to maintain a health insurance staff.
Basically, what it would do, it would take everything that OGB does for us and transfer it to us.
To us personally.
Yes, and we would have to maintain all that. So I know that there are several parishes that, not several, there's some parishes that have gone self-insured. I believe EBR is self-insured. I believe St. Tammany's self-insured. Obviously, Iberville is. Who else?
I don't know off the top of my head. More districts that currently have OGB are currently investigating that process. But again, one district that I'm not going to name made that change about 7 years ago. And over a couple of year period till they changed it, till it smoothed itself out, the board was responsible for about $10 million. So you've got to have some backup to make sure that you're staying solvent, because it is we're talking about health insurance. But I agree.
Some of those board members and the providers say they draw so much off their insurance. The interest rates.
I'm sorry?
The interest rates that they get from being self-provided by putting the money up front, that there's kind of a plus to that as well.
I don't know anything about that, because we would still have to hire, for an argument's sake, Blue Cross, because that's who we have as our provider through OGB. We still have to pay them. So I don't know where what you're talking about as far as interest is concerned, because we would not get into that as a money-making venture. So I don't know where that interest would come in.
No,
Again,
what she's talking about is in that self-insured premium, we would have to build up a trust, in essence, of monies that would take care of the insurance pieces when they came out. And as that, and I'm going to call it a trust, there's probably a better word for it, but as that trust increased in size, because we'd have to pay into it to get it to a certain point, and then at that point, while it's there, it could gain interest and benefit from everything.
We've not
else,
gotten in our
pool
discussions
of money
to that point.
Right.
But I also know, and I've discovered this recently, that this does require a vote by the employees, and the percentage that the employees have to approve it is quite high. So it's not just us making that decision. The employees have to be involved.
Several have reached out to me saying that they would appreciate lower premiums.
Oh, I would
even
too.
above a pay raise, because it would be so much extra in their pocket.
I would love that as well. So, but we are investigating that. We've already started those conversations.
Can I make a substitute motion to do a 1 year instead of 2 years, so that we could look into this?
This has nothing to do with health insurance. This
right here?
This is strictly 100% our supplemental premiums this is not Office of Group Benefits. This has nothing to do with the Blue Cross Health. This is strictly supplemental benefits.
Dr. Gregoire, one of your previous comments, if we were to go this way, we would have to basically hire additional employees. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
We'd have to, and it would be a substantial staff. It'd have to be enough staff
When you said
to manage
staffing.
the 4,000 employees.
Right.
It contradicts what I've talked to 2 different providers, and they say no, especially the one that handles Iberville and EBR.
Have to have extra employees for it? I don't see how they handle all the, they don't see how they transfer and do all of the things that has to be done between the end user and
I'm not an
Blue
insurance
Cross Blue
expert.
Shield.
I don't know.
It'd have to be a staff to do it. One person couldn't do it for sure, and it can't be automated because it has to be reviewed, and it also has to be, since it's a budgetary item of that substance, it also have to be audited on a regular basis as well.
But we are looking into it, Ms. Kelly, to answer your question.
It would definitely be worth looking into. I think
We are.
our people could really benefit
We are.
substantially.
Mr. Chafin,
Yes.
the self-insured, how does that affect a retired teacher?
Retirees, to my understanding, on a very surface level, retirees would not be allowed to transfer to our system. They would have to stay with the Office of Group Benefits.
So they do have that option to stay with OGB.
They would not have a
They
choice.
would not have, okay.
That's correct. From what my understanding is.
I also know there's been a little bit of legislative chatter
Yes,
around OGB and the increases.
correct.
If I'm not mistaken, I think OGB's increased their rates 3 years in a row,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It is a significant issue, and I know that there's been some legislative discussion regarding that. Now, what that means is I'm not sure.
This last one that came through, OGP put it through, and it just passed through session. There was not a substantial debate about it. There wasn't any big ruckus about it. It was just processed through, and which, that's a constituency issue. All of our teachers need to contact the representatives and tell them, stop letting OGB raise the rates every time you give a pay raise.
Supposed to go up 5% next year.
Yeah.
So,
And, so, again, OGB is a mediary. their rates aren't affected by insurance rates.
This is about the cafeteria
OGG does
design.
not have to go up because insurance goes up, because all they are is an intermediary. They're not an insurance company. But that's actually outside of the point of this agenda item.
Okay,
We need to get back to the
outside
agenda.
here. We need
Yeah.
to continue get back on track here, so.
If you'll call me and we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, because this is getting off topic. Give him a call.
So I do have a question on this. Do we have a participation rate or an existing participation rate for
First Financial?
For First Financial?
I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but they're substantial. Many of our employees, because there's so many different products that are offered through First Financial, many of our employees participate.
So this is the eye exams, the
Vision, dental,
It's
cancer, heart attack, life insurance.
Does it also include the Aflac style supplemental insurance?
All of that.
That's a part of this as well?
Yes, they cover everything but health insurance.
Okay.
Okay, let's, I have a motion and a second here.
I'll
make a motion. Mr. Bradley Harris seconds it. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There's none, so it passes. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. All right, number 10, approval of monthly financial payments and invoices. Have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Dr. Gregwall makes a motion. Mr. Graham seconds it. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. There is none. Superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'll try to keep it kind of brief tonight. You know, if you haven't been to the Livingston Parish Fair, it's going on this week. I encourage you all to go to the fair. There's a lot going on out there. We've got a lot of schools participating. We even had some winners today announced, which we'll make public to the board here shortly. It's just a great day to be out there, and it's a great thing to see our kids in our schools out there. If you haven't been paying attention, we've been doing some great things here. We held Wednesday. We had a Live Oak groundbreaking up in Live Oak for their brand new, and I'm not sure I can get the name of it right, Miss Kelly, I'm sorry, but it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for our children in the Live Oak community to become involved in aeronautics, in STEM, in engineering, in medical, and it's just going to be a great addition to Live Oak High School up there, and we're really excited about that. Is there anything you want to add?
I want to thank y'all for coming out and supporting that. And we've been working on this since 2011, quite literally. And we're really pleased to have these opportunities for our kids. It's a blessing.
And next Monday at 1 p.m. Down in Albany, we're going to have a groundbreaking for a brand new cafeteria in Albany. And if you really want to know what a cafeteria shouldn't look like, look at the old cafeteria down there, and then you'll understand exactly why we're doing that groundbreaking. And that's Monday at 1 p.m. at the Albany Elementary's campus. Dr. Gregoire.
The existing cafeteria has been servicing both the upper and lower elementaries. It's probably one of the largest cafeterias in our parish that serves the most kids, and they've been needing this expansion. So we're basically going to be putting a new cafeteria that actually divides it into two separate cafeterias. It'd be one cooking, but two different separate serving areas so that they could have it concurrently, and it's going to make a big difference in the times the kids eat and the amount of time that they're going to have to spend there. So in addition, we're going to be adding classroom space to it as well. It's going to be a great thing, and I'd like to invite anybody who wants to attend sent the board members an invitation, but it's going to be an open to the public thing. So if anybody wants to come, I'd appreciate it.
And lastly, we're going to have a Southside community event that's scheduled for Saturday, October 15th at 10 a.m. We'd invite anyone who would like to see the new Southside Elementary, Southside Junior High. We'll be holding a ceremony there for that facilities on Saturday, October 15th at 10 a.m. And with that, I will return the meeting to president.
All right, thank you. Okay, number 12, consider approval to enter into executive session to discuss and take action on personal appearance or request of Amber Prepoponte. Am I saying that right? Patron of the North Corbin Junior High School. Mr.
Need a motion.
Need a motion to go into executive
Make a
session.
motion, we go in executive session.
All right.
Second.
And Mr. Graham makes a motion and Mr. Cox second. All in discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. Could I ask everyone to leave the room, please?
And Mark.